This is titled Fish Heads. Somehow the Nile perch was introduced into Lake Victoria, the world's second largest freshwater lake. The Nile perch has devastated Lake Victoria's ecosystem. Hundreds of native fish species have disappeared. The once clear lake is now polluted with algae and visibility is low. Terrible for the ecosystem? Yes. On the flip side, the Nile perch fishing industry is a multi-billion-dollar-a-year export to Europe and Tanzania's largest export. The only jobs along the coasts of Lake Victoria are in the fishing industry. These people survive on less than $1 a day. At the time of the documentary I watched on the Nile perch in Tanzania titled Darwin's Nightmare, there was also a great famine in Tanzania in which 2 million people are starving. 2 million Europeans consume Nile perch each day. Giant planes fly from Europe to Tanzania every day. Fish are taken out of Africa. Guns are brought in. The security at a coastal airport in Tanzania is very poor, and thus it has become a popular location to bring arms into the country that fuel African quote-unquote tribal skirmishes. The quote-unquote tribal skirmish that lasted from 1998 through 2003 resulted in 3.8 million dead Africans. 3.8 million. Vietnam, Korea, Iraq, all the wars we usually hear about pale in comparison when the numbers of lives lost are discussed. In the eastern Congo alone, the casualties of war on each single day equal the number of deaths on September 11th in New York. This is, of course, just a tribal skirmish. They're Africans, so it's not considered the Third World War. Only white countries are involved in world wars. If this war took place on the European continent instead of on the African continent, people would talk about how this was one of the worst conflicts in the history of the world. But Africans are in Africa. So instead of trying to calm the conflicts, Europe supplies the bullets. Famine, AIDS, 3.8 million dead. So long as Europe gets its Nile perch and makes large profits from arms dealing, the world is fine with it. Never mind that 10-year-old children have to sniff to glue to get to sleep from fear of living on the street. Never mind that 1 million Tanzanians survive on the fish heads and skeletons of Nile perch while the fillets are shipped to white European countries. Never mind that in a village of 1,000 people, 15 of them die a month from AIDS. Never mind that Europe profits off of war in Africa. Never mind that the world's second largest lake's ecosystem has been destroyed. Never mind that if the Nile perch in Lake Victoria were fed to Tanzanians instead of Europeans, there wouldn't be a famine. All that matters is that Europe eats Nile perch. Let them eat cake.